What do we think when we hear the word Disney? Evil media mega conglomerate that seeks to devour every IP that it sees with its gluttonous eyes? Or is it the company that produced some of the most memorable films of our lifetimes and helped revolutionize the animation industry? Both? Yeah, let's say both. One thing you probably don't immediately think of when you hear Disney is manga, but the two are more intertwined in history than you might think. See, in the earlier half of the 20th century, there was a young Japanese man by the name of Osamu Tezuka, who was a huge fan of Disney's works. He would watch Disney films over and over and enjoyed reading Disney comics as well. He decided to become a mangaka, and his first full-length work, New Treasure Island, was in part inspired by the Donald Duck Finds Pirate Gold comic. He would go on to become one of the most prolific and legendary mangaka of all time, and Disney's influence is very prevalent in his art style. Maybe there were even times when the tables were turned and Disney was influenced by Mr. Tezuka, say by a certain white lion he created that they swear they knew nothing about when creating their own lion. Well, if you're interested in hearing more about that, check out my top 3 manga of the 1950s video. The link will be in the description. The new manga boom that began in the 2000s drew the eyes of Disney onto the media that it influenced so many decades ago. They began publishing manga based on their famous franchises. The new relationship between Disney and manga really blurs the lines on what should be considered a manga. While they're all published under the Disney manga banner, we'll find a variety of stories written and illustrated by both Japanese and American creators, sometimes being read left to right and others right to left. It's a really interesting international collaboration, so let's see what it results in. Most of the manga are just straight adaptations of Disney's most well-known films. There's The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I would say doesn't fit the best in this type of media. While the art is appealing, there's a central piece of the film's soul that's missing, given that there's a distinct lack of musical scenes in the manga when the movie itself was a musical. The Princess and the Frog, Tangled, and Frozen 2 feature the same stories with that well-known manga art style. But some of these artists took some strange artistic liberties, to say the least. I'm mostly talking about The Princess and the Frog here because, well, if you look through the pages, you might see something off. Yeah, none of the dark-skinned characters' skin is even remotely colored in. They all just look white. I know that manga is usually black and white, but even dark-skinned characters are usually shaded in a bit to let the reader know how they're supposed to be depicted. Tiana and Charlotte should not be having the same skin color, especially when Tiana is the first black Disney princess. You would hardly have any idea that Tiana's black if it didn't show it on the cover. It just seems like a massive oversight. Big Hero 6 is a film with a lot of Japanese influence already attached to it, so it's only fitting that it comes with the manga as well. While the overall story remains the same, there's significant changes to some of the scenes that provide a fresh new experience for those that have seen the movie. For instance, at the start of the manga, Hiro is already enrolled at the San Francisco Institute of Technology, and the death scene for Tadashi is also completely different. This time, he's being pulled into an artificially generated black hole and chooses to let go of Hiro's hand in order to save his little brother. There's also numerous Pixar manga that do a wonderful job of transitioning the 3D character designs to 2D, such as Toy Story 1 and 2, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., and WALL-E. Their live-action movies don't get left out either. Some films that get the manga treatment are the Pirates of the Caribbean, Cruella, Descendants, and Alice in Wonderland. Most of the art styles are enjoyable, but Alice's was just too inconsistent at times. A lot of the human characters look very plain and uncanny. There's also a particular scene where Alice discusses her future with Lady Ascot, and somehow Lady Ascot looks completely different in every panel she's in. There were times where I didn't even realize Alice was still talking to the same character. It feels like the artist rushed through the beginning scene without much thought. But there's a significant shift in quality once Alice gets to Wonderland. The caterpillar and the Bandersnatch are drawn with absolutely frightening detail, and my favorite scene was this 2-page spread of when Alice meets the Cheshire Cat. Depending on your taste, this one is a hit or miss. And of all the things, there's even a High School Musical 3 manga adaptation. I will never be able to read the contents of the story because the only part of it that was ever translated into English was the 9-page prologue chapter. So, could this potentially be one of the greatest manga ever put to paper, rivaling juggernauts such as Berserk or One Piece? Could we even say it's one of the most significant pieces of literary media of all time, towering over works of Homer, William Shakespeare, or Mark Twain? Dare I say that perhaps Troy could in fact beat Goku? I don't know. Maybe. I can't read it, so I guess we'll never know. But what's that I hear you say? Mr. Maniac, why would I read the manga when I can just watch the movie instead?
Well, I can't read.
And if you want to announce your illiteracy that loudly, that's fine, but I hear what you're saying. It's Thanksgiving night, and even though you're on your third plate, you're still eyeing the dessert table. Your quest for satiation seems unachievable. Your belly screams for hunger. You want.
More!
You want more out of the characters and stories you've already enjoyed. Well, open your mouth, because manga is here to feed you more of that adventure and lore that you have been desperately searching for. The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Battle for the Pumpkin King, is a prequel that features both Jack and Oogie Boogie when they were best friends. The Pumpkin King has announced his retirement, and the two friends compete against one another to become his successor. Mirror Moon and Zero's Journey both take place after the original film. In Mirror Moon, Jack has a dream about a way to double up on the Halloween decorations this year. He puts Sally in charge of Halloween while he figures out how to make his dream come true. Well, after Sally notices doppelgangers of herself and others around town, she goes to Jack's house and discovers that his magic mirror has been accidentally creating copies of everybody due to the stray moonlight beams bouncing off of it. Now Sally must figure out a way to stop the mischief the copies are wreaking. Zero's Journey has Zero enter Christmas Town after Jack mistakenly fires off his new portal gun he's been experimenting with. After getting to explore more of Christmas Town's setting, Zero becomes homesick and desperately tries to find his way back home. This story doesn't shy away from mature themes either. At one point, Zero encounters the gloomy elf named Mr. Miser, who hates Christmas and holidays in general. Zero learns that this is due to his dog, One, being hit and killed by a car sleigh after he wandered onto the road on Christmas Day. But using his ghostly powers, Zero is able to reunite One's ghost and Mr. Miser. It's no surprise that everybody's favorite blue rogue experiment, 626, aka Stitch, has had his own foray into manga, especially considering how massively popular he is in Japan and the surrounding Asian area. One manga that has recently gained a lot of traction is Stitch and the Samurai, set in an alternate universe where Stitch lands in Japan during the Sengoku period. Here he meets Mason Yamamoto, a ruthless warlord on his most recent campaign. After easily defeating Mason's soldiers, Mason becomes so overwhelmed by Stitch's cute appearance that he abandons his plans to burn down an enemy fort. He begins to ignore his loyal followers as his mind becomes too preoccupied with Stitch. Meanwhile, Stitch tries to repair his ship so he can get back into space. Seeing this, Mason resonates with Stitch's feelings because he too had to experience living in a strange land when he was forced to grow up as a ward with another noble family due to political reasons. Mason tries to task his followers with repairing Stitch's ship, but they only manage to further degrade it due to their less advanced technology. Mason is able to cheer Stitch up by showing him fireflies, as they remind him of the stars in space. They bond over the longing they have for their homes, and Mason shows Stitch the kinder side of him that he didn't know he was capable of having. Mason reads him stories and even shares chestnuts with him from his private forest. It's an interesting twist to Stitch's well-known tale that you can enjoy whether you are or aren't a fan of the franchise. There's another manga he's featured in simply called Stitch. It contains a mix of different stories, as part of it is based off the Stitch anime, which takes place 10 years after the end of Leroy and Stitch. Stitch lands on Izayoa Island, Japan, and meets a girl named Yuna. His behavior has significantly regressed, but Yuna helps him learn some manners. She introduces him to the Chitama Stone, where legend has it that if you complete 43 good deeds, you will get any wish granted. Stitch wishes to become the strongest in the universe. After Jumba and Pleakley make their way to the island, Stitch is given a risk counter that adds all his good deeds, but also subtracts his bad ones. Part of the manga is also set in the original Lilo and Stitch series, featuring side stories of the two in Hawaii, causing the kind of mischief you'd expect from them. Now, when I first began my research for this video, I did not expect the manga adaptation of the Beauty and the Beast live-action film to end up being one of my favorites from this list. It's a 2-volume series, with the first volume being told from Belle's perspective, and the second being told from the Beast. Belle's tale is a pretty straightforward adaptation of the film, with Belle struggling to break free from the misogynistic culture and traditional gender roles from her village. She sacrifices her freedom to save her father's and is imprisoned in the Beast's castle, being forced to live with him and his cursed servants. In Beast's tale, we get to see how they were all cursed by an enchantress after the Beast selfishly refused to help her when she was disguised as a beggar. She leaves him only a rose that will leave them cursed forever after the last petal falls. In his scenes, he expresses the inner turmoil he feels as he falls deeper into his depression and self-loathing. He sees his castle as nothing but a prison. A home is a place where we all seek solace and comfort, and a castle at that would never leave its host wanting. The irony in his life simply piles itself on. He thinks of Belle as courageous when she stands up to him, but goes back to wallow in his fate when she rebuked his attempts at kindness. He feels he has failed his servants and the mother that he lost when he was a boy. He acknowledges that he was a monster since long before he was transformed. His outer appearance merely reflects who he is on the inside. He allows Belle to escape, but comes to her rescue once he hears wolves in the forest. He is surprised that Belle did not leave him to die in the snow after he scares off the wolves. As he recovers, he overhears Belle talking to his servants about their loyalty to him, and he finds a renewed sense of hope to end the curse for their sake. He and Belle grow closer each day, and he sympathizes with her over the loss of her own mother when she was young. He grows to love her and lets her go back to her village to save her father, even if it means she might never return, and that he will be cursed forever. Only now, after spending years as a monster, has he finally learned to be human. There's also some spin-off manga that expands on the characters and settings of the Descendants film franchise, and there's The Adventures of Jack Sparrow, that shows us some additional exploits of everybody's second favorite fictional pirate. The Disney Fairy series focuses on the fairies in Pixie Hollow. Ronnie and the Mermaid is about a water fairy named Ronnie that had to cut her wings off to learn how to swim and save the hollow. She tries her best to fit in, but sinks further into isolation due to her flightlessness. She leaves the hollow and makes friends with mermaids down the river, but finds that they are extremely conceited and shallow. She laments on not being able to fit in anywhere. In Tinkerbell's story, Tinkerbell loses her hammer, and everyone loses faith in her skills as she's no longer capable of fixing anything. She has a spare at Peter Pan's, but wants to actively avoid him due to her past behavior towards Wendy. And I know that you've just been dying to get some more for-town, for-real backstory and lore. Well, they too get their own manga volume, so you can finally get to see more of their interests and daily lives. Donald Duck Goes to Japan. Donald Duck is featured in this manga along with his friends Jose and Panchito. They have all recently been moved to the Asia Relations Department of the Duck Furnishings Company after they crashed the president's car. They are stuck doing empty tasks until they're informed that they are being transferred to Japan to figure out what omotenashi means to the people of Japan, and the company can start making furniture that appeals to the Japanese tastes. In reality though, the president sent them there because he secretly hatched a plan for the trio to receive some much needed training on how to become the ideal employees. Kilala Princess is a manga original series starring Kilala, a girl obsessed with Disney princesses. One day she finds a boy named Ray asleep in front of her home. She brings him inside and discovers a new tiara in her room. Once Ray wakes up, they scuffle over it with him claiming that she is trying to steal it. Ray's servant Valdo comes in and explains that they are searching for the princess that owns the tiara. Their country is being plagued by natural disasters, and legend has it that this chosen princess can save them. Kilala takes them to the Princess Beauty pageant where her friend Erica wins and is then kidnapped by suspicious men. They take her to a mysterious door in the forest, and when Kilala goes through, she finds herself in the world of Snow White. The story follows her adventures through the worlds of various Disney princesses, as she and Ray continue looking for the tiara's owner. The art is so vibrant and unique, a mix between modern shoujo manga design and the nostalgic Disney style. It's interesting to compare the two considering how Disney's iconic art influenced manga in its early history. Magical Dance. Another original manga that features Rin, a girl who, despite being on the school dance team, isn't very good at dancing. Her rival Yuna bans her from participating in the dance competition so that she doesn't ruin their chances of winning. Rin runs into a little girl named Momo. After being bullied by two older boys, Rin does what anybody else would do in this type of situation: challenge them to a dance battle. And while Rin is getting absolutely cooked, Tinkerbell suddenly appears and helps Rin summon Mickey Mouse using a magical card. Mickey throws down some sick moves and helps Rin become a better dancer. Each chapter features a new Disney character that helps Rin improve her skills so the dance team can advance through the dance tournament. Now, while all these manga were published in the 2000s, there's actually a couple adaptations that were created many decades before. Remember that Tezuka guy we were talking about earlier? Well, he had the opportunity to illustrate his own Disney manga in Japan. He published both Bambi and Pinocchio. The story remains largely unchanged, utilizing Tezuka's signature art style that fits perfectly within Disney's world and characters. I bet it must have been such a surreal and amazing experience to adapt one of his favorite films, Bambi, considering that he apparently saw it over 80 times when it came to Japan. What a full circle moment for him, getting to adapt the stories that left such a long-lasting impression on him through the medium that he himself helped popularize. Which was your favorite series listed here? Is there a Disney franchise that you want to see adapted into a manga? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for making it to the end. It means a lot. If you liked what you saw, maybe share it with a friend and subscribe for more manga content. Until next time, happy reading.